everybody, I'm Lee, chef and owner of Wild Spork, Cleveland's favorite vegan food truck, and this is Spork at Home, and today we're going to be talking about my cookbook. It's called Help Me I'm Vegan, and you can find it on Amazon. We'll also put a link in the description of this video. Today we're going to be making creamy potato soup, which is on page 17 of the book. It's very easy, anyone can do it. It's a family favorite, and I know that you're going to love it. So, to start, you got to chop up a bunch of potatoes. Now, the thing with this book is it's not going to give you exact measurements. The idea is that it'll teach you to cook, it'll develop your instincts in the kitchen, and it'll allow you to make food that you really love in the quantities that you need it. So if you want to make a saucepan of soup just for yourself, you don't need 4 large potatoes. Likewise, my potatoes were tiny, so I used like 8 of them. And if you're going to feed the whole neighborhood, you're going to need a lot. So everything is going to be able to be adjusted based on what you need. So, like I said, I've got my potatoes peeled and chopped. You don't have to peel them if you like the skins on. You can go with a more rustic, hearty soup and leave them on. I'm going to show you quickly how to chop a potato. So if you peel them, they tend to get a flat side, and that's useful to keep you safe while chopping. But what I like to do is turn it up on its side, slice it into planks. This one's going to get 3 slices for the size we need, and then 2 of them can stack up. We have a nice safe flat base, and then come back in here, give it a couple slices, and now you have potato sticks. And we're going to just go ahead and chop those into cubes and do the same thing with our top that we had cut off. 3 down the middle and then into cubes, and we're all set. We've got a fairly uniform cut on those. So they don't have to be perfect, of course, but if they are close in size, they're gonna cook more evenly. If you test them for doneness and you get a small one, you'll say, yeah, they're done, and then you've got big chunks, then they might still be crunchy in the middle, and we definitely don't want that. So we are going to get our pan heating over medium, add a little swirl of olive oil in there. Now I've got some onions and carrots that I've also chopped up. I'm going to add the onions first. Anytime that I cook anything that requires onions, I always put those in the pan first because they have a lot of liquid in them, and if we don't kind of sweat out that liquid and let it evaporate, you're going to have a lot more pungent onion flavor in your final product, and that's not really what we want here. So we're going to let the onions cook for just a few minutes until they start to wilt, and then we're going to add everything else. And so we will be back in 4 minutes or so when those onions are ready. All right, we've got our onions starting to sweat down. They're just barely browning around the edges. That's about the stage we want. And so at that point, we're going to add in our carrots. We're going to add in our potatoes. And we're going to add vegetable broth, just enough to cover them. And so I know I just said vegetable broth and then I poured plain water in here, and so this is why. I'm using this better than bouillon paste, basically. So this is just a jar of super concentrated vegetable broth flavor, and we're gonna add that in there. And that way we can control exactly how much we're putting in. I like this product a lot because you can use it even if you have a base that's, say, almond milk or something like that. You can add more at the end if you need more flavor. And so we're gonna put the lid on this pot, turn up the heat a little bit, and we're gonna let that boil until the potatoes are just tender. It'll probably take 8 to 10 minutes. In the meantime, we're gonna make the creamy base for this soup. So this is probably one of the only times in the entire book that I give you actual measurements, and what I should have done is said parts instead of cups, but what I've told you to do is in a blender combine 4 cups of vegetable broth, which again we're gonna add the bouillon paste to that, a 1/4 cup of cornstarch, and 1 cup of cashews. Now, we decided to do this video this morning and I got everything set up and realized that I don't have cashews. So I've dug probably about a half cup of roasted salted cashews out of some snack mix. Normally we use raw unsalted cashews. I'm guessing this is gonna be fine. So hopefully it's enough. We'll see what happens. Like I said, it's only half the amount that the recipe generally calls for. So we'll get to experiment together today. I'm gonna add some of my vegetable bouillon paste to this blender. We're gonna turn it on. And blend it until it's creamy, and then we'll be back. I don't want you to have to listen to the blender. All right, we are back. We have blended up our cashew vegetable broth cornstarch mixture. It's completely smooth. One thing people tell me a lot is that they don't think they can make any of these vegan cheeses or anything that involve blending nuts because their blender is not very high powered, and that's totally fine. So all you do once you get to this stage, if you think your blender hasn't been able to completely make smooth the cashews, just pour it through over a strainer and then it'll catch any lumps that didn't get blended. So that shouldn't be a concern. As long as you have some sort of blender, I think you'll be able to achieve this result. And also, if you're allergic to cashews, you can leave them out completely and just do the mixture with vegetable broth and cornstarch, and I think your result will still be great. You might just lose a little bit of the richness that the fat from the cashews provides. But we're gonna probably find out because, like I said, I've only used half the amount of cashews that I originally intended to put in here. So where we're at right now, we have our potatoes, onions, carrots cooked here in vegetable broth. They're tender, so what we do to check, we just pull one of them out and stab it with a fork. Fork goes through easily. It breaks the potato in half a little bit. You can see that those are tender and ready to go. So now we're gonna slowly pour in our cashew mixture, and you might not need all of this. So you'll see it'll start to thicken pretty much right away, and we're gonna just add as much as we want in terms of broth. So if you want a really thick, mostly potato soup, you could start here. To add a little bit more brothiness to it, add a little bit more. And then we're just gonna stir this for a couple minutes, and you can feel as you're stirring that it's starting to thicken. And we're really close to getting the texture that we're looking for. You can kind of feel as you're stirring it, scrape the bottom of the pan. That's where it's going to thicken from first because that's closest to the heat source. And then, of course, the most important part before you serve is to taste your broth. Make sure that it has enough flavor. And that's absolutely perfect. So at this point, if you felt it needed more flavor, you can add some salt, you could add pepper, or you can add just another small dollop of your vegan bouillon paste. So we're gonna go ahead and serve this up. Look how thick and rich that is. I have these adorable little bowls that were given to us by Jim and Tammy, some of our favorite regulars. So thank you guys for these bowls. They're so adorable. And I'm gonna finish my soup off with just a crack of black pepper. You can put in here chives would be great, dill. You can even mix in when you're doing the vegetable phase. You can add broccoli. You can stir in some vegan cheese and do a broccoli cheese soup. Think of this soup as a blank canvas. You can add anything to it that you like. It's gonna be amazing. It's only 9:15 in the morning here, but this whole thing gets pulled together in about 30 minutes, so it's a quick meal. And even though it's morning and we've already had breakfast, I'm gonna dive into this. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, help me, I'm vegan, available on Amazon. Thank you all, we'll see you next time.